It is done, the teams are finalized, and we're just waiting for that group stage draw. Which is Friday, December 1st, in case you were wondering. So who's in and who's out after these playoff matches? Well, I'll tell you. I'm Adrian, by the way. And maybe you will enjoy yourself and want to subscribe because we have a great international community here that you may just want to join. Alright, let's start in Asia as Australia qualified. Thanks in large part to Emil Jedinak and his beard, Australia became the 31st of 32 teams to qualify for the World Cup in Russia. The first leg ended 0-0, and after a tight first half in Australia, Honduras were unfortunate, but also their own undoing, as all three of Australia's and Jedinak's goals came from set pieces, one taking a massive deflection from a free kick, and then 2 penalties. The Socceroos have now qualified for more World Cup finals as an Asian team than they did as the representative of the OFC. In the OFC, they had 2 World Cup appearances in 11 attempts, while they are 3 for 3 in Asia. Alright, to Europe, starting with Denmark and the poor Republic of Ireland. They haven't qualified for the last 4 World Cups now. And with Denmark qualifying 2 days ago for the first time ever, there will be 3 Nordic nations at a World Cup. Christian Eriksen has taken his Denmark goal-scoring tally to 21 goals, surpassing Ballon d'Or winner Alan Simonsen and equaling Dennis Romadal. All of this at just 25 years old. Safe to say they were pretty happy about qualification, and I'm sure under all that champagne, Lars Jakobsen was happy as well. And Denmark deserved to be there, as they are one of the few undefeated teams in 2017, alongside Germany, Belgium, Spain, Iran, and Peru, maybe? They haven't lost yet, but I am filming this before their match against New Zealand. So is that still correct, future Adrian? Spoiler alert. The Swiss definitely deserve to be at this World Cup also, considering their qualification campaign in which they won almost every single match except for 1 loss against Portugal, meaning they finished in 2nd place and had to go through the playoffs. However, to make it through on a bit of a dubious penalty decision, as there was only 1 goal scored in these 2 matches, that's a little bit harsh on the Irish. And I think that I could confidently say that the first match between these 2 nations was one of the most boring matches of football I've ever seen. Take it from me, a Portugal supporter who had to watch some boring stuff in the last few years. But to put this particular boring match into perspective, in the first half alone of the second leg in Switzerland at St. Jakob Park, I believe, there were more shots on target than the entirety of the first match. It was always going to be tough for Northern Ireland to turn this one around, however, as Switzerland hasn't lost by more than 1 goal at home since 2014 when they hosted England. But regardless, Switzerland have qualified for their 4th consecutive World Cup, which they haven't done since 1954. Croatia! I like how these guys do things. Now let me tell you about myself. I'm the kind of guy that will do everything in his workday, take no breaks, just so that I can have all my work done and then I can chill in the evening. That is pretty much what Croatia did in this 2-legged tie, as they stomped Greece 4-1 at home. Greece did have a flicker of a hope with that 1 away goal, and by a flicker I mean a candle in the wind flicker. But it was always going to be tough against Croatia, as they are playoff dons. Not to mention they are unbeaten in 12 home matches with 9 wins and 3 draws. But back to playoff matches, as they have never lost a playoff, let alone a playoff match. Their record stands at 5 wins and 5 draws from 5 playoffs. Italy, 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 Italy. Now, this was the first time since 1958 that the Italians have failed to qualify for a World Cup, so you would have to be over 60 years old to remember when this last happened, to remember when Italy wasn't in a World Cup. Sweden fans were singing, which is fitting because the whole of Italy will surely be spinning into some sort of existential crisis. And speaking of looking on the bright side of life, Buffon may not be able to do so. The least Italy could have done was qualify so that we just had 1 more tournament worth of Gigi Buffon, so we didn't have to say goodbye to him in a Juventus kit. Although, given how he's been such a great servant of that club, maybe it's fitting that he sees his career come to a close wearing that kit. But anyway, a survey in Italy has found that 67% of their citizens, or at least the ones that took this survey, want Carlo Ancelotti to be their next Italian manager. And by the way, only 32% of Swedes want Zlatan Ibrahimovic to come back to the Swedish national team. But back to Italian managers. Their current manager, Ventura, what the fuck is he on about? With his nation failing to make it into the World Cup, all he had to say was, Italy out of the World Cup? What can I do about it? Unfortunately, that is how it went. My record is one of the best in the past 40 years. I only lost 2 matches. This dude is deluded, putting his record above the qualification of his country. Not to mention his tactical ineptitude in failing to field players like Lorenzo Insigne, and his tactics of having Italy cross the ball into the box constantly, when, fair enough, if you had Andrea Belotti, one of the best headers in the game, starting the match, that could maybe make sense, but given Sweden's massive center backs, and the fact that you have Ciro Immobile, a guy who likes the ball at his feet, playing, what? Imagine how different their attack would have looked with Insigne and Immobile on the pitch at the same time. That's the route that they should have taken against Sweden. It seems a shame to me that regarding Immobile and Insigne, two of arguably their most exciting players at this moment and most informed players at this moment, one, you only started one of them, and two, you didn't set up your tactics to play with ball at feet along the ground instead of crossing all the time. That's not your game. You don't have a Luca Toni in there. Belotti, he's probably too small for the Swedish center backs, but you didn't even have him on there, your best header of the ball. It's too bad. It was straight up stupid. But anyways. And the final playoff, New Zealand versus Peru, where the Peruvian fans gave them a good old-fashioned South American welcome to Lima. And perhaps that, coupled with their will to fight to the death and the strength from the entire nation, pushed them over the finish line with a 2-0 win. Jefferson Farfan and Christian Ramos were the men responsible for ensuring Les Blanquiroja forced a national holiday today. Promise made by the president should Peru qualify for their first World Cup in 36 years. Oh, and as past Adrian said earlier, they stayed undefeated in 2017 in doing so. So here's the final breakdown of the nations competing at the World Cup. Representing Africa, we have Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, Senegal, and Tunisia. From Asia, we have Australia, Iran, Japan, Korea Republic, and Saudi Arabia. In Europe, and brace yourself for this one, Belgium, Croatia, Denmark, England, France, Germany, Iceland, Poland, Portugal, the hosts Russia, Serbia, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. From North and Central America, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Panama, no teams from Oceania this time, and from South America, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and Uruguay. Oh, so there you have it. We are pretty much ready for this tournament, and I, personally, cannot wait. Because that's a strong bunch of teams, despite the likes of the Netherlands and Chile missing out. And Canada, of course, we can't forget Canada. My country. Mind you, my country probably won't qualify for a World Cup in my lifetime unless we get that joint bid for the 2026 World Cup with the USA and Mexico. Come on. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to drop a like to help out the channel. My name is Adrian, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.